Thanks for joining us here on the Stadium Astro YouTube page. Shola and Marlon alongside me for this one. We just witnessed a dramatic victory for Newcastle United for their final push to the end of the Premier League season after what has been a very difficult season, to put it that way, both on and off the pitch as well. We spoke about Dan Ashworth earlier, but Sandro Tonali just fresh off the news that there might just be an even further extension to his suspension from playing football because of alleged breaches on gambling and betting. It's a difficult time for Sandro Tonali personally. Do you think it'll be harsh if he does get another extension to the ban? Look, legality-wise, I understand the previous one was based on whatever happened in a different jurisdiction and not in England. Yeah. But it does seem a bit harsh. He's going to have 1 year away from football.
Yeah, I mean, that therein lies the problem. You know, unfortunately, you know, seeing Sandro and all the things that he's had to deal with, you know, the illness that he does have, you know, and seeing the sanctions that have been placed on him, you know, getting this fresh news now of potentially more sanctions is devastating. You know, I know how hard he's working to, you know, maintain his fitness. You know, and I know this club are right behind him, supporting him. You know, whatever he needs, you know, to help him through this whole process. So, listen, it's devastating news. You know, you look at the injuries that we've been accumulating this season.
Yeah. With him,
you know,
I mean, that midfield is absolutely decimated at this point.
Yeah, you know, that's a player that could have made a huge difference for us this season.
Yeah, 100%.
And to potentially lose him for further, you know, months or a year, you know, it's going to be tough to take. But certainly, you know, for us, you know, from the club's point of view, you know, we think he's serving the punishment that he needs to serve, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
I mean, how big of a loss? How much would they really need him, Newcastle United, Tonali?
Oh, yeah, well,
I mean, their season could have gone completely different if he was available.
Yeah, but obviously Shola's just echoing what he said about injuries and stuff. They could do with him, but obviously the circumstances that he's in at the moment, he's got an illness, and the clubs deal with it with their best way they can, and they've said they're gonna back him, which he needs, and he needs help, which he's gonna get, and then you have to regroup after that, and when he serves it up, and then he's going to have to prove what a player he is after that, and hopefully he comes through it. Well, we all want players like that to come through in the club to help them, because everyone's individual in their own ways and how to deal with things, and he's got an illness, so at the end of the day, I know the club's going to be behind him. Obviously, we were talking about the football-wise that we need him, so we need him back as soon as possible and try and get as fit as possible.
You want the Premier League wants to see the best players play, and he's certainly a top player. You know, captain of AC Milan, and you know, he was on Newcastle's marquee signing this season. Yeah. To see him not playing, don't get me wrong. Listen, you have to, you know, you can't break the rules, and you have to serve the sentence for that and the time for that. But you know, it just feels a little bit like piling on if they do, you know, continue, because like you say, you want to see your best players playing, and he's certainly a top player.
Is there perhaps lack, because this came on pretty much like a rock that's fallen onto Newcastle United? Were there any indications that, you know, this was a problem at the start? Again, I'm questioning a bit of due diligence. I apologise, but was there a lack of due diligence from Newcastle's side to not see this coming?
You don't. It's obviously
very hard when a player doesn't.
I have a company that does this. I've just set up a company to help pros, young pros, life after football. You don't really, because it's difficult for players when you're at home and you're chilling and you want to. Your mind just works overtime. Some people deal with it well, some people don't, and obviously that's the circumstances of how he is as a person and what he wanted to do. Obviously, he's facing the consequences of that with the profession that he's in, and obviously he knows he's done wrong. It's just overcoming that and obviously getting the help and doing. And what he does after now. It's just all about what he does after. Yeah,
talking about, you know, due diligence, I think it's really hard when a player, you know, has something like that no one knows about. He's hidden it. You know, whether AC Milan knew or not, you know, that's up in the air. You know, I know that's something that, you know, Newcastle United are questioning, but the fact that, you know, the player didn't tell anyone. You know, it's very hard to get anything out of a player if he's not willing to disclose it, and if he's not willing to own up to it. And I think that, you know, I know, you know, the way that we, you know, recruit now, the manner in which we scrutinise every every incoming player will be different now because of what's happened. You've spent a lot of money on a player that hasn't played the season, and unfortunately that's something that Newcastle will have to stomach and move on from, and hopefully learn from as well.
I'm really curious because again it is an illness, and you talk about helping young players who are maybe struggling just a little bit in that sense. The ban seems, to some anyway, seems a little bit harsh in the sense whereby you're at the end of the day taking away something these footballers love, which puts them mentally in an even worse off position. They can't play football.
100%.
Should the focus, look, we're not trying to change the laws, but if you could, should the focus be more on rehabilitation rather than banning them from playing football? Again, it's a hard one to navigate, right? Because we're not rewriting the laws.
I totally agree with you, but the rehab has got to be within the ban. There's got to be some circumstances of what you've been doing. You have to bow by the rules, and the rules are there. People know the rules, but at the same time, if you've got an illness that you can't help, I don't know how to word it because obviously I don't want to get told off. If you're in a situation where that's you and you've got an illness, and obviously that's when the ban comes and the rehab, so to try and get you out of that to prepare you for your sport.
Yeah, the laws are there as a deterrent. Listen, we don't want the game coming under disrepute, and and unfortunately it's been an issue in the game of football, and you have to have laws against this, and unfortunately, like you say, they are a deterrent, and when people break the laws, those laws have to be enforced, or else everyone will be doing it, and we don't want that. And
can I ask very quickly, you work within the club, how much does the club actually educate the players on these things internally, talk about the dangers of these sort of addictions, whether it be gambling or alcohol or whatever it may be? How much do clubs play a role in educating them?
The players know. We know what we can and can't do, and sometimes the clubs do have people in. There is people out there that comes into clubs and explains the rules and regulations, but at the end of the day, individual players have different ways of dealing with things, how they go about stuff, and what they want to do. And obviously we're talking about addiction and the problems, so it's all about individuality, but there is things out there to help lads and advise them, and sometimes it's just out of the club's hands when you make a choice of what you want to do.
Clubs are doing more, and when you have players that you can't play, there's a duty of care there, and I think in terms of well-being and support, certainly for younger players coming in, that's something that's happening all the time. Safeguarding welfare officers, player liaison officers, people who come around players now and really help them educate and support them in all things. We don't want our players, not being able to play football, and I think clubs are doing more and more now.
I think it's more now than it was
when we were playing.
A lot more.
Well, it's really interesting to learn, gents. Thank you so much. That was really educational, actually. For more exclusive content, make sure you follow us here on Stadium Astro YouTube, and make sure you follow us on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook as well, Stadium Astro.